It's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
It's a very good evening, Zimbabwe. It is ZiFM Sport on a Tuesday, Top Hit Tuesday. We call it around in these parts. From their homes tonight, you will hear from Alois Bunjira, Chris Gray, Mike Madoda, our producer Sean Tafirinika. My name is Barry Manandi, delivering yet another great edition of ZiFM Sport. Why are we calling it great? Well, there's lots to look forward to. On the home front, the Minister of Youth, Sport, Arts and Recreation, Kirsty Coventry, has come under scrutiny after she used Twitter's new feature that lets users decide who can reply to their tweets. And tonight, we'll explore the nuances around the Sports Minister limiting engagement.
We also have some international sports news for you. And being a Tuesday, we have the Formula One report, proudly brought to you by Zimoco. And in the news, Formula One is looking at using a reversed grid qualifying session as part of a new format as the season is poised to start on the 5th of July with the Austrian Grand Prix. We'll then take you around the world in 60. We'll begin in New Zealand, where former All Blacks captain Kieran Reid is backing calls for an integrated international rugby season, but is concerned money coming out of the north might frustrate attempts to create a global calendar. In Croatia, promoter Nist Soland says Filip Hrgović will take a fight against Anthony Joshua tomorrow, but must force himself into a position where no one can get away. And then we'll touch down in the US, where United States Tennis Association Chief Executive Stacey Alister says plans are in place for this year's US Open to go ahead at Flushing Meadows in New York.
The second half of the show is always the beautiful game where RB Leipzig head coach Julian Nagelsmann has said his team were deserved winners after coming from behind to beat Cologne 4-2 in the Bundesliga last night. In the Premier League, Southampton manager Ralph Hasenhuttl has signed a new 4-year contract to keep him at the club until 2024. In news from League One, speaking in an interview with L'Equipe, Lille president Gerard Lopez claimed that all League One presidents now agree that the 2019-2020 season was stopped prematurely. We also have updates from La Liga and Serie A.
All of that and so much more to look forward to on this edition of ZiFM Sport. But as always, we start with our power play, and today it's the sounds of Astronomia. It's Vice Tone and Tony Iggy. This song popularized, of course, by those dancing pallbearers who became especially famous during this lockdown.
The Warriors, the Chevrons, the Cheetahs, the Mighty Warriors, and the Sables. From the pool to the track to the field, we are Team Zimbabwe. The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis.
Taking off on the home front, so the news is that the Minister of Youth, Sport, Arts and Recreation, Kirsty Coventry, has come under scrutiny after she used Twitter's new feature that lets users decide who can reply to their tweets in a move that will limit the Sports Minister's engagement on the social media site. Previously, anybody could reply to anybody on Twitter as long as their profile wasn't private or blocked. But now you can decide if you want to allow replies from everyone, only people you follow, or only people you tag. If you don't tag anyone, it means that no one can reply at all. At the moment, it appears that Coventry has enabled responses from just the people she follows. So interesting development, this one, guys. And of course, it's got tongues wagging on Twitter. And I want to start with you, Chris, because this is an area that you swim in and an area that you have swam in professionally. What are your thoughts on the big debate that Kirsty Coventry is disenfranchising followers who would want to engage with her on Twitter?
I think first and foremost, when you become a public official, especially a ministerial post, one of the first things you need to consider is that you should not be handling your own social media account. That's the first thing. Because the reason why she's taken to this is sometimes there is a degree of abuse that she receives for some of the decisions that are made by the SRC, by the Ministry of Sports. And obviously on Twitter, everyone is kind of, there's no filter on Twitter with some people. Some people are completely uncouth. You have people who use derogatory language and so on and so forth. So the first and most important thing is the reason why she's taken to this decision is to limit the abuse. She should not be handling the account in the first place. Public figures worldwide have professionals who manage their accounts. There are scenarios where she's deleted tweets, where she's gone back on something she said on Twitter or revised a statement. The reason for that is she is not the one who's supposed to be handling that account. So that's my first and most important concern, is she's taking a decision from a reactionary place of, I want to limit the amount of engagement or the amount of abuse I receive, when she shouldn't be handling the account in the first place. There are hundreds of people who are more than qualified to be handling that account for her and to be distributing information on her behalf so that she doesn't receive that flack and take it personally when she is in fact a public official.
Yeah, she's a public official, Barry, and I guess the concern there, I think, which she might have had, is that perhaps that I'm better able to tell my own story than entrusting it to someone else. But Chris pointing out that, once you decide to do that, then you've got to take the good with the bad. You've got to take the abuse with the praise. And because you are emotionally attached to your own story and you're the one who's tweeting and you're reading these replies and responding to them, inevitably the abuse is going to get to you, and then you see yourself reacting in the manner that Kirsty Coventry has reacted. So if she had engaged someone who is a professional in this particular area, in digital, she wouldn't have to deal with this sort of nonsense. She wouldn't have to deal with the trolls. And then she would have to be engaging with this individual and, of course, providing direction. What are your thoughts, Barry, on this particular issue?
Well, social media as a whole is a minefield. So you need to be willing first and foremost to take, as you say, like mashed potatoes, you take the good with the lumps and you eat it as a meal. It's going to come that way whether you like it or not. So you have to have a title. If you accept an appointment into a cabinet position such that Kirsty Coventry has done, because what happens is that things that have to do with your ministry, things that don't have anything to do with your ministry, are directed at you. If there's a power cut in Ulilima Mangwe, it comes to you and it's a problem because somebody wanted to watch a football match and they directed at the sports minister. But you have to take that on board. You cannot therefore block people by saying block. I'm saying you are limiting the engagement and the amount of feedback that you can get. Now that's from a negative perspective. My fear is that from a positive perspective, by closing yourself off on this engagement, you are actually limiting the amount of ideas, the amount of discourse and intercourse that you can have with the populace who have ideas in themselves. So they now have to find another way of getting in touch with you and ensuring that their ideas come across. So I don't think this is well advised. Ultimately, the man who's most vilified across the world, Donald Trump, he hasn't used the feature yet.
Yeah, he hasn't used the feature yet, and we are privileged to have a celebrity amongst us in the form of Alois Bunjira, former Warriors International. Alois, you, of course, are very active, especially on Facebook. Tell us a bit about how you handle criticism, because it's not all praise that you're getting. Tell us about how you've been able to work through the trolls and the people that are just going to come after you because you're Alois Bunjira.
Yeah, Mike, it's a very tricky situation that she finds herself in. But like Barry said, I do agree with Barry. I also do agree with you and Chris, that somebody should actually handle the account for her in such a way, not because she's not going to be affected by the replies, But I think because of the workload that she has got, she needs somebody to be doing it. Then she gets feedback through that person. But in the same lane, she is going to be affected by whatever replies that come through, because there's still, even if it's somebody else who tweets for her, the replies are going to be directed back to her, so she will still know that she has been trolled. So coming to your response to your question, Mike, it's very, very difficult not to get emotional about what people say about you or how they reply to you, but you just need to teach yourself to be very strong, to actually know how to handle things like that. I've been trolled left, right, and center. I'm sure you guys, you've seen it. Myself being trolled and all that, but I know what to reply and I know what to do. Sometimes when I see that this is going the wrong way, but I will need, there are some that I need to reply. I know the fire is gonna come back, but I still need to air my view. I drop my view and let everybody else judge. There are some times when you can actually see that the person that is trolling you is actually not brainy enough. So you let them be. You let them go on and do whatever they are saying, because you will have, amongst your friends, Mike, you will have other guys that are on your side that will take the person that is trolling you on. Let your other friends that agree with what you are saying take over and respond for you. They can defend you, they can fight for you. You just stay back and let it boil. Let it boil over. I actually believe it's actually a good thing that, like Barry said, you get all the feedback there and let the other guys that just support you defend you. You will find one or two guys that will defend you. They will come in and say, what are you saying?
To jump in and sort of push through some of the ideas that you'll be expressing,
yes.
And then you are not on the front line. Now, Chris, let me ask you this, because is it sometimes a function, Chris, that people go onto social media, especially celebrities or sports stars or people in office, and they don't quite have a strategy, or they don't have they don't know why they're on social media? My belief is that when you're on a platform, you should use it for a certain purpose, or it should have a primary purpose. It doesn't mean that you can't use it for other things. So I get us in a sense that Kirsty Coventry, the minister, has not defined what her presence on social media is there for. Because if your presence on social media is there for you to be able to test the temperature, to find out what people think about policy, what people think about sport, etc. It means that you will be less emotional to how people respond and interact with you, because what you're doing is you will have a filter that filters the good with the bad, the abuse with the praise, and you're able to take the good that you can use in office.
Absolutely. Objectives is, I think, the most important thing. And it's a problem that's across corporate, it's across government, it's across public figures as well. People are on social media because it's the thing to do, and they don't know why they're there, which then distorts the messaging. For me, I think from a ministerial perspective, you are supposed to have an entire strategy for communications. Whatever ministry it is, they need a strategy for communications. And a strategy for communications would then look at social media as part of a cog and part of a system, and not just like, this is how we're going to distribute information. And that's what's happening at the moment, is you have ministers, public figures, going on social media to make announcements. Majority of our population is not on social media. A lot of the people you need to reach are not on social media. So if you're going to be making important announcements, those announcements must also be made on other platforms. And if you're going to be putting them on social media, understand that you are putting them there because that's the only form of communication that we have that allows a two-way conversation. You're not going to have a two-way conversation if you drop a radio spot ad. You're not going to have a two-way conversation with a billboard. And so it becomes an issue where it should be part of a system, an organized system, and not simply an add-on or a thing to do because, that's where people are at the moment.
social media not an add-on, it's not a fad, it's something that you do have clear objectives as to why you are doing it, especially if you are in public office. Just some of the bit of advice that's coming through from ZiFM Sport as Kirsty Coventry is caught in the eye of that storm. A lot of people feeling that they have been left out in terms of the discourse and engagement if the minister chooses to use that new feature that has been enabled. In fact, it's actually it's being tested by Twitter. It hasn't been rolled out 100%. So a lot of people are arguing that the minister should keep her platforms open for the sake of public interest.
Hi, my name is Sean Williams, Zimbabwe cricket captain. You're listening to ZiFM Sport. Z.
All right, let's give you a quick roundup of what's happening in sport locally, starting with cricket, where the Chevrons could become the first Zimbabwean national sports team to plunge back into action as early as next month, pending clearance from the government for resumption of such competitions. The Afghan cricket team are scheduled to tour here, the first country to do so since international sport around the world was halted in March amid the coronavirus pandemic. Cricket Australia have also confirmed their full summer season will go ahead and will get underway with a 3-match one-day international series against Zimbabwe on the 9th of August. On to athletics news, where athletes have been urged to exercise caution as they return to their various sporting disciplines following lifting of restrictions for low-risk sports. Sports scientist Kanyile Dlamini said it is a positive for some sporting activities to return, but athletes need to be careful in their approach to returning to activity after the long break. Dlamini said the athletes that didn't follow lockdown fitness programs risk injury and will be generally playing catch-up, which defies one of the principles of training known as the principle of progressive overload. We'll wrap it up with Casalaga Premier Soccer League. Yes, I sounded very smart in that last report, but I was just reading. Casalaga Premier Soccer League news, where Dynamos have set up a standalone commercial division that will oversee and try to exploit all available income-generating channels, including sale of merchandise. By their admission, Dimbare have lost millions of dollars in potential revenue from the sale of merchandise over the years. Club executive chairman Isaiah Mfurutsa has said the team was putting in place all logistical requirements that will see them utilizing all revenue streams. Already, they were finalizing some copyright issues, which will give them absolute authority to own all club merchandise, which includes the club t-shirt.
Hi, this is Mike Madoda, and you can catch me and the team for all the latest breaking news out of the world of sport, local as well as international, on your favorite station, my station, your station, ZiFM. We are Z-Team on ZiFM Sport.
Z. International Sports News Roundup, where the world comes out to play. From sunny Melbourne to the streets of Monaco, the deserts of Bahrain to the jungles of Brazil, get up to speed on the Formula One Report. The Formula One Report is proudly brought to you by Zimoco, the home of F1 brands Mercedes-Benz and Alfa Romeo in Zimbabwe. Zimoco, specialized service for special brands.
The Formula One Report proudly brought to you this and every single Tuesday by Zimoco. And today we're talking about their awesome range of Mitsubishi vehicles. The all-new Mitsubishi Asx is first and foremost, and it combines all the benefits of a compact SUV, spacious interior, roomy boot, and extra height with the nimble maneuverability and fuel efficiency of a smaller car with great style, performance, safety, and tech features, plus plenty of space for friends, family, and cargo. The Asx will not cramp your style. The Asx features the Mavic 2-liter petrol engine with either a 5-speed manual or a 6-speed automatic transmission.
Now, this new generation engine provides fuel economy of an average of 7.5 liters per 100 kilometers. With a 63-liter tank, the Asx will give you 800 kilometers of driving pleasure on a tank of fuel. Now, that's impressive. with its panoramic roof, LED headlamps, expressive grille, reversing camera, and a range of advanced passive and active safety systems. This compact SUV is really packed with all the luxury of a larger SUV at an unbeatable price. It will not disappoint and gives its competitors a real run for their money.
Z.
On to our Formula One report, proper, where Formula One is looking at using a reversed grid qualifying session as part of a new format for racing's resumption this season. Formula One Group has already discussed the proposal with the teams and the governing body, the FIA, and is understood it has broad support, but that the world champions Mercedes oppose the concept. A formal vote and decision will be made this week. The format would feature a standard race weekend for the first meeting. On the following Saturday, a 30-minute race with a grid ordered in reverse championship standings would be held to decide qualifying positions for the second race. Now, it's a whole new world, and we're having to make various changes, and Formula One is of no exception. But surprisingly, the world champions, Mercedes, are not on board with this change in format, Michael.
Yeah, that's because they want to start out from the front. They want to be at the front and go off, drive off into the sunset, as it were. I'm with them for different reasons. I know they're doing it for selfish reasons, because they don't want to find themselves behind the Red Bulls. They don't want to find themselves behind the Ferraris and have to work their way from the back of the grid to try and win a race, because it would be next to impossible in the mayhem. It will be very exciting for the TV viewers, for us as fans, in truth, because we're going to see a lot more overtaking. We're going to see a lot more risk taken by the young and exciting drivers. So I see the likes of Max Verstappen. This type of qualification route will be best suited to his driving skills. He's very aggressive. He's a risk taker. He will certainly, and we have seen him whenever he's dropped to the back of the grid, how he's worked his way from the back, sometimes all the way actually into a position where he nearly wins a race. So he'll be best suited to this. But for someone like Lewis Hamilton, I think, who is on the cusp of drawing alongside Michael Schumacher, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, if he wins this year's championship, he's not willing to take any risks with his legacy, because as he gets older, as Ferrari catches up, as Red Bull catches up, the chances of him catching and surpassing Michael Schumacher become less and less, because he's not as guaranteed of victory as he has been over the last 4 years.
Yeah, and so Mercedes vehemently refusing to go this route, and the thinking around it is understandable, isn't it, Chris? That they since you're going to have 2 weekends in a row racing on the same circuit, you don't want the first race to look exactly like the second race, so it distinguishes the race, one race from the other. But Toto Wolff, who I love, absolutely love, I'm a Ferrari fan, but I love Toto Wolff for a soundbite. He had this to say. He says, when you're looking at the 100-meter final in the Olympics, you're not making Usain Bolt start 5 meters behind just to make it an exciting finish. And man's got a point.
Man's got a point. And in as much as it would make for a more exciting race, it seems, I don't know, it seems a little bit unfair to me. And especially where you have a team like Mercedes, who they're known for that start. And their start a lot of the times is essentially how they finish the race. How they start is essentially how they finish. So for a team like Mercedes, it's not fair. It's like you're saying, why would you make someone start from the back initially because they were first and they're the fastest? For me, it just kind of messes with the spirit of Formula One, as it were. And I'm firmly with Mercedes all the way. This is, in as much as it will make for a more exciting race, this is not necessarily how you want to do things. If at qualifying, the team manages to come out at the top and they start out in front, fantastic for them. But let's not mess with the race for the sake of making it possible for other teams to be able to do the same.
Z.
Continuing with the good news out of Zimoko, we are talking about the Mitsubishi Pajero Sport now, which is the next generation SUV. Decades of off-road expertise and cutting-edge technology come together in the Pajero Sport, fusing elegance, space and safety for urban driving with agility for off-road excitement. It is the versatile 7-seater family 4-wheel drive built to help you escape the everyday and ignite your spirit for adventure. Powered by the all-new Myvec 2.4-litre intercooled turbo diesel engine with 8-speed automatic transmission, it is the quietest and most fuel-efficient diesel engine on the market. With Super Select 4-wheel drive, reinforced impact safety evolution, 7 airbags, ISOFIX for child seats. Just one look at the Pajero Sport's sleek line and ultra-modern design, and you know there's performance in store with an exterior tough enough to tackle the most challenging driving conditions in the world's harshest terrains.
Z.
The 2020 Formula One season is poised to start on the 5th of July with the Austrian Grand Prix, the first of 8 behind-closed-door European races in 10 weeks. After months of cancellations and postponements, the sport has revealed a bumper provisional calendar to return to track action. The new schedule features 8 races in 6 circuits with back-to-back Grand Prix in Austria and Silverstone, while there are also set to be 2 triple headers. The other events on the calendar are those in Hungary, Spain, Belgium and Italy.
Z.
All right, let's wrap up our look at the Mitsubishi lineup with looking at a truck. Everybody needs a truck in their lives, and this one is the all-new Mitsubishi Triton double cab, and it's as tough as they come. The bold Triton is engineered beyond tough. Whether you need the practicality of a dedicated workhorse or the luxury and versatility of an SUV, the Triton's combination of super responsive, smooth and powerful performance, silky transmission and passenger-friendly features is exactly what you need. Powered by the Myvec 2.4-litre diesel engine. And with the Super Select 2 4-wheel drive system, the Triton achieves low fuel consumption while delivering outstanding performance.
The Mitsubishi Triton double cab is available in both automatic and manual transmissions. It also features hill descent control, electronic off-road assistance, hill start assist, anti-lock braking system, electronic brake force distribution, rear differential lock, auto dusk sensing headlamps, reverse parking camera, infotainment system with Apple CarPlay, and so much more. This affordable and competitively priced double cab is most certainly not one to miss out on. Visit our Zimoko showroom in Bordeaux today and check out our range of Mitsubishi products. There is a model to suit every budget and lifestyle. Let the Mitsubishi drive your ambition.
The Formula One Report is proudly brought to you by Zimoko, the home of F1 brands Mercedes-Benz and Alfa Romeo in Zimbabwe. Zimoko, specialized service for special brands.
Hi, I'm Trevor Nyakani, the Blue Bulls and Springbok prop, and now you're listening to ZiFM Sports.
Around the world in 60 seconds. International sports news.
We take off in New Zealand, where former All Blacks captain Kieran Reid is back in calls for an integrated international rugby season, but is concerned money coming out of the North might frustrate attempts to create a global calendar. Reid believes international rugby needs to move away from the current schedule, which focuses on players from both hemispheres playing test matches out of season, but fears the richer Northern Hemisphere may continue to influence how the global calendar is structured. We head over to Croatia, where promoter Nis Saulen says Filip Hrgović would take a fight against Anthony Joshua tomorrow, but must force himself into a position where no one can get away. Britain's unified champion will make the next defense of his world heavyweight title against Kubrat Pulev, the IBF's mandatory challenger, but Hrgović has already risen to number 6 in the IBF rankings after 10 victories. The Croatian is supremely confident that he would topple Joshua now, but his promotional team have questioned whether the WBA, IBF and WBO title holder would welcome a fight against Hrgović, who has earned a reputation as a ruthless puncher. We touched down in the United States, where the United States Tennis Association Chief Executive Stacey Alister says plans are in place for this year's US Open to go ahead at Flushing Meadows in New York. All sanctioned competitions has been suspended by the ATP, WTA and International Tennis Federation since March and is on hold until late July. But a number of different scenarios are being considered for the Grand Slam in New York should it go ahead as planned amid the coronavirus pandemic.
Hi, I'm Warriors coach Zdravko Logarušić and you are listening to ZiFM Sport.
Sports with a difference.
Z. The big leagues, the big teams, the big players. The beautiful game on ZiFM Sport. Horsepower unmatched. Torque to beat the best. Speed unrivaled. Sleek and easy on the eye. Let's get behind the wheel of football engineered to perfection. The Bundesliga, made in Germany.
News out of Germany now, and Red Bull Leipzig youthful head coach Julian Nagelsmann said his team were deserved winners after coming from behind to beat Cologne 4-2. Leipzig returned to their winning ways in the Bundesliga after being held by Hertha Berlin last week. Patrick Schick, Christopher Nkunku, Timo Werner and Dani Olmo on target. Jon Cordoba had put host Cologne ahead, but 4 goals from 4 different goal scorers helped Leipzig climb to third in the standings despite Anthony Modeste reducing the deficit, and Modeste having a golden opportunity to make it at least 4-3 and promise an exciting finish to the game. An entertaining game of football, albeit that there were no fans, Alois. This was the sort of football that we certainly want to watch, no matter whether it's lockdown or not lockdown. This was an exciting game of football.
Yeah, very exciting game of football. Remember Leipzig, they were complaining about fatigue last week. I don't know how they got rejuvenated. You know, all of a sudden they're playing in football, which is actually brilliant. You know, one thing that I've actually gotten to like about the restart of the German Bundesliga are the goals. Goals are raining. They are scoring goals. I'm starting to think that maybe German fans restrict strikers from scoring goals, because when they are there, strikers try to score goals. But now they are not there, and all the games they're producing a high number of goals, which is what fans actually want. When they go to the stadium, they really want to see good football and many goals, and they are getting scored when they are not there. So I don't know what's happening, but an exciting game of football, as you said. I like it. I'm loving the German Bundesliga at the moment.
Chris, we touched on the top 5, as it were, yesterday when we talked about that Champions League qualification. We were talking about the fact that Bayer Leverkusen was looking good value, and Leipzig themselves needed to pick themselves up. And just like I think there was the 80s movie, this is almost how Stella got her groove back, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really great to see them back to winning ways. I hope this is not a fluke, and then, you know, for the remainder of the season they slide back into the almost dark place they were in. But it's great to see them back in third. It's going to be great to see them playing Champions League football if they can maintain this. I think at this point we're seeing that flurry of goals. We're seeing these teams very close together on that log, and what you need at the moment is consistency, and let's wait and see if they can kick on into that consistency.
Goals, Michael. The reason we tune into football, that's why fans fill up stadiums. They want to see the net bulge. They want to see it hit that old onion bag. And Julian Nagelsmann sets up his team to score goals. Yeah, fine, they conceded 2, fair enough. But his team has got goals in them. 4 goals from 4 different goal scorers is a sign that this is a very attacking team. And we saw it in the Champions League against Spurs as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He reminds me of a young Jurgen Klopp. Even the way he sets up his team, the way his team plays, the basic structure of the team. You go back to how Borussia Dortmund played under Jurgen Klopp, or even before that, actually, when Jurgen Klopp was at Mainz. It's the same style, the same characteristics. What he doesn't have, Julian Nagelsmann, I think, he doesn't have world-class defenders. And as such, his team defensively is always going to give you an opportunity. So I take a look at his work, and I think he's a coach that would really thrive in a bigger and better environment, in an environment where he gets an opportunity to work with world-class players. Right now, yes, he's got the likes of Timo Werner, but let's take a look at his goalkeeper. I mean, you take a look at the goalkeeper at RB Leipzig, Gulask. He's a guy who failed to make the grade at Liverpool. Remember, he came through the Liverpool Academy, was at Liverpool for a long time, but he couldn't quite cut it. So those are sort of like the players that he's working with, and he's been able to bring the best out of them. So I have full confidence that if he steps up, he goes to a club like Newcastle with money coming through. I think Alois mentioned him as one of the potential candidates last week on the show. I think he will do a good job, because he'll be able to buy himself a better caliber defender, and already with the tactical acumen that he already has, that team I think will be able to build into something really competitive in the English Premier League.
Alois, they say matches are key in success in football. So the coach must match the team, and when those two match, success follows. Let's follow what Mike was talking about in terms of making that step up. Julian Nagelsmann, he's in his early 30s. Does he make the step up and move now, or does he continue to cut his teeth, possibly serve another season, another 2 seasons, and then when he's in his mid-30s, then move on? Because he's got the one commodity that many coaches in world football don't have, and that is time.
Yeah, I'm one for ability and not for experience. I've always said it. Look at him; he has got the ability, and what 2 more years are going to do? What do you want? What do you want from him in 2 years' time? He has the ability. If I am a club owner, if I was an Arab sheikh, owning an EPL team, I'll get him out, because the ability, what he has already shown, he has got the ability to actually make a team, to actually create a formidable team that he has got a good repertoire with, that can actually go on and win. The main ingredient that I like when a coach is coaching a team, the most important one is like Jurgen Klopp that he has got, when you form a repertoire, a good relationship with your players. Once you have got that relationship with your players, when you are like friends, you are family, they love you, you love them back, and you actually show it to the public, and it starts happening on its own. Now add the ability that you've got, then you've got a very, very good recipe for success. And it's not time. No, I don't believe in time. I don't believe in age. I don't believe in ability and the relationship that one can have with the players. He has got it.
It's all about tactical acumen now, Barry, and the age of managers. If you notice the average age of the really good managers in world football, it has dropped, I think, by about 10 years. There was a generation when the good coaches used to be your elderly gentlemen, your Capellos, your Marcello Lippi, your Giovanni Trappattonis.
Exactly.
Yes, your Vicente Del Bosque, your Sir Alex Ferguson's, your Arsene Wenger's. But the age now is possibly, the average age is 10 years less than that now. Guys are coming into their own in their 40s and cutting their teeth and doing the business.
It's an important point that you make, Michael, and just talking about the man you just mentioned, Giovanni Trapattoni, he's the one who famously said that a good manager can improve a team by 5%, and that margin is what is the difference between an average team and a really good team. But he went on to say that a bad manager can make a team 30% worse. Julian Nagelsmann is one of the good ones, and that 5% has put Red Bull Leipzig back into the Champions League positions in the Bundesliga standings. They sit third behind Borussia Dortmund in second, Bayern Munich, of course, out in front. You can virtually call the engravers and tell them to warm up their little needle.
All the rivalry.
Here is Harry Kane for Tottenham. Oh, what a goal! A classic derby goal from Harry Kane. Catch him if you can.
All the stars.
Oh, back he is, Liverpool 2 in front. Talk about impudence. Talk about improvisation. Talk about Sadio Mane.
And all the game-changing moments.
And Raheem Sterling rattles it home. And once more, City are in front in a trice.
All the updates from the Premier League on ZiFM Sport.
News from England is from the South Coast, where Southampton manager Ralph Hasenhüttl has signed a new 4-year contract to keep him at the club until 2024. The 52-year-old has been in charge of the Saints for 16 months after succeeding Mark Hughes at St Mary's in December 2018. Hasenhüttl has established himself as a popular figure on the South Coast and impressively steered the ship back on course after October's record-breaking 9-0 home loss to Leicester City. Now, just taking a look at where things stand currently, Southampton sitting in 14th place ahead of the Premier League's resumption. They are 7 points above the relegation zone, and at this stage of the season, Barry, one would like to think that Southampton are probably safe, barring any monumental collapses.
Yeah, they're safe, and I think this appointment, I suppose it's an issue of, again, that chemistry that we spoke about earlier when we were talking about Julian Nagelsmann, where he has integrated into the South Coast culture. He's been received in Southampton and all sorts. But for me, it's an extension. If there was no hard conversation about going forward and being a bit more ambitious, then I feel that it's an extension that lacks ambition, because he's done well, he's okay, but he's just that, he's okay. I don't think he's moving the Saints along at the level that they had gotten to when they had the likes of Mauricio Pochettino in charge of Southampton, where they were knocking on the doors.
To be fair, if you take a look at the previous squads at Southampton, you must admit that they had a higher quality. You know, they had really your Deuce and Tadiches of this world, Pellegro, the Italian striker, Virgil van Dijk, Dejan Lovren, Sadio Mane. So those sides had a bit about them. Southampton in the last 5 seasons has become a bit of a selling club. So, even if they brought in a different manager, would he do better with that Southampton squad?
And take note, I noticed that I didn't say that the questions needed to be directed exclusively to Hasenhüttl, because I think Hasenhüttl himself needed to direct some choice questions to the board in terms of their ambition, because the board themselves, as you quite rightly point out, are a selling club. They haven't shown that they're committed to seeing this club move forward. And in truth, if they carry on this path within the next 2 seasons, this will be a championship team.
Alois, I wanna ask you this. If you were the chairman of Southampton Football Club, and we go back to the start of the season and just take a look at some of the results that came the way of Ralph Hasenhüttl's way, the results really were a shocker, and I'm just going to read them out for you in terms of what he managed at the start of the season. At the start of the season, it wasn't that bad. He started off with a victory, 1-0 versus Sheffield United, then lost to Bournemouth in the South Coast derby, and then responded with a thumping win in the EFL Cup versus Portsmouth, 4-0. But then after that, the next 8 matches saw him lose 6 and draw 2. The highlight of which was that 9-0 defeat to Leicester. Would you have kept him at that stage?
I would have shown him the door. Obviously, and I was actually surprised that he actually held on. So it also shows the lack of ambition on the part of the directors of the team, because you can actually tell that they are fine with just staying in the league. I think what they did there, Mike, is they looked at the result. They just looked at their position. They didn't look at how the team has been performing or how many games they lost out of the 8. They just looked back and checked the position. They said, okay, we're still fine. We're still somewhere above the relegation zone, so we're okay. So they didn't care much about the game that they lost. They worried more about the position. So they're not ambitious at all. I think they are a team of people that are happy with just floating in the Premier League and just being part of the EPL. So when they look at their position and they think they're safe, they're fine.
Chris, I want you then to give me your thoughts, because I know Barry and Alois have come out very strongly and say Southampton lacking ambition. But after that run of games, Chris, where it didn't go so well at the start of the season, the next 14 games brought about just 3 defeats, 2 draws, and 9 wins. So is he a guy that perhaps showed that, listen, where he's able to get the team? Yes, he got them in a deep hole, but he has the wherewithal to dig them out and move them up the table. Is he a guy that deserves support?
I think he's a guy that deserves support. He managed to dig them out of the hole that they were in. They're above relegation. And I think another consideration they may have made is how he's endeared himself to the Southampton fans and how he's now almost a part of their brand, as it were. And I think that's another decision they made to say, okay, look, if they are in that stage where they're saying we are a selling club and their focus now is to make money for whatever period, then I don't think that he's a bad appointment, especially for the period that they've stated until 2024.
And the fact, Chris, that he has backed youth as well. We've just talked about Southampton being a selling club. You know, they produce players. They produce really good players. Gareth Bale. They have produced, you know, the likes of Oxlade-Chamberlain. They've produced the likes of Theo Walcott, Adam Lallana. All those guys have passed through Southampton. So the very fact that perhaps they've got that model, they're perhaps looking at this guy who's backing youth and saying he's the right guy to integrate youthful players into the first team so that we can achieve our objectives.
Absolutely. And once he's able and he's established himself as, you know, at the guy who can make that happen for Southampton, he can continue to churn out those kind of players. They can do that successfully for some time, and he's still able to keep them within the Premier League. So he's able to develop these players, he's able to make money for the club, and that's how we see a number of managers managing to remain at the club, is because they're making money and they're still able to develop talent that the club can then benefit from, initially to keep them within the Premier League, but also later on when they're at a certain stage to sell. Speaking in an interview with L'Equipe, Lille president Gerard Lopez claimed that all league presidents are now agreeing that the 2019-2020 season was stopped prematurely. He said, where we can all agree, and I'm talking about the presidents, including those who recently changed their mind, is on the hyper-premature stoppage of the league season and the consequences of which we don't yet fully know. We keep saying that we are failing to catch up with the Big Four in Europe, that we don't produce good results in the European competitions. It is not by stopping our league before the others that we are going to put ourselves in a position of strength either. This is a catastrophic decision. Barry, hindsight is 2020, and now we've had other leagues in Europe. We've had the Bundesliga come back. Other leagues have now put their dates as to when they'll be coming back. And the league presidents are now sort of looking at this like we could have just carried on. The impact could for them be catastrophic.
Yeah, it wasn't clever. It wasn't clever, and it was a knee-jerk reaction wherein they weren't facing any pressure. There was no reason to make the decision at that stage. The entire world was on lockdown. Just go into your house and idle and wait to see how it all plays out, like they did in England, like they did in Germany and the other leagues that are coming back. So I think the French may have jumped to this. But in truth, what good is a mind if you can't change it? In truth, nothing says that they can't call the clubs up and say, guys, let's do a Zoom meeting and recant the decision.
Right, just a couple of quick updates as we wrap up the show, starting in Spain, where La Liga president Javier Tebas says that Spanish football's return will allow people to feel a sense of normality again, but it may also serve as a reminder of an uncomfortable new reality. Spain's top division is set to restart on June the 11th and to be completed on the 19th of July. Yet the expectation is players will be subjected to safety protocol for several months and stadiums will not be full again until next year. Let's jump over to Italy, where Italian Football Federation President FIGC Gabriele Gravina has said that he hopes that a small number of fans will be able to attend matches before the season finishes. Italian football has been suspended since March 9 because of the coronavirus pandemic, which has killed over 33,500 people in the country, but will return to action mid-June with the season scheduled to end in early August. So that's the news out of Spain and Italy. Everything pointing to the return of football, and France left wondering what could have been.
Indeed, we can't wonder what could have been, because we are now what will be what could be tomorrow at 6:05. Catch us then. May God richly bless you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Menande, out.
And it's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
The biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.